Real Life is a program about real people. People who have faced challenging and often tragic circumstances. Yet despite their journeys of pain and grief, they have emerged with hope, healing, and victory. Brandee was a young girl with dreams of using her musical talents to bring glory to God. Throughout her childhood, she faced many challenging circumstances, but she never forgot the promise that she made to God.
When I was probably 6 years old was when I realized I could sing. And I was listening to my mother's radio and I heard Barbra Streisand singing and I thought, wow, you know, she sounds like an angel. And at that moment I made a promise to God that I would grow up and sing for Him like an angel on earth to help His weary children. That was about age 6. But when I turned age 7, everything changed in my home environment. It didn't feel safe and secure anymore, as my mom had fallen to alcoholism. And she bought a bar and grill establishment in Glendale, Queens, and that became where she spent most of her time. And my brothers and I lived in the home without much guidance at all from either of our parents. My father's boss had invited me to come out again with his daughter to spend the weekend riding horses, and I was absolutely thrilled. His boss picked me up in a van, and we started driving toward New Jersey, and I looked up at the signs and realized that, and in that moment I got scared, and I just had this feeling that I was in trouble. And started to tell me stories about when he was a police officer, how he would come across older men and young women in sexual encounters. And I realized that he was trying to open me up to a situation. We left the restaurant and got back to his condo, and it was a very ugly moment, and he asked me to come back into his bedroom. And I just looked at him dead on as a little 15-year-old girl, and I said no. So I darted for the door, ran out. I was walking toward a payphone where a man was on the phone, and he noticed me crying, and he said, "Little girl, what's wrong?" And I told him I needed to get home to Queens, that I didn't have a way, and I was going to try to make some phone calls. And he said his mom happened to live in Queens and perhaps could give me a ride. I began walking with him until I realized he was leading me toward a dark alley. I just felt, "Brandee, run, run now." And I ran away from him, and I ran out into the middle of the street. And I stuck my thumb out to try to get picked up by a car really quick. And I was picked up. And I got in the car, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I told him I needed to get to Queens, and he said, "Okay." Then said, "In order for me to take you to the bridge, you're going to have to let me do something to you, and you're going to have to do something to me." The same evening, within hours, the third time I was in the same situation. I was broken down to do that. Once I got home, I didn't have keys, so I ran into the back and broke into the kitchen window. And once I got to the living room, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning by now, and I just dropped to my knees, my face in the ground, praising God for saving my life. I finally was able to leave my parents' home when I was 17 years old. I moved to Florida. By 19, I met a young man who was a guitar player and fell completely in love with him. And we started a relationship and found ourselves in a situation where we were pregnant, and we were not married. And I was faced in that moment with a choice. I promised God I would never have an abortion. I told him that I will have this child, and I did. I became a single mom. By the time I was 22, I had met a man who was a young president of a local bank branch, and we had gotten engaged, so thought that was a great idea, so my daughter and I moved in. Quickly after that, he started to become jealous over the fact that my daughter was not his, and he wanted us to have a child of our own, and he demanded that we have a child, and I agreed. I remember I ran out to the drugstore and I bought a pregnancy test, and I ran home and I took the test and I set it up, and I just stared at the little blue window and waiting for the little line to show up to tell me I was pregnant, and when it showed up, my heart leapt with joy. I was so excited that I was pregnant until things got a little worse, and he became a little more controlling and demanding over the fact that my daughter still was not his, and he started to demand that I try to revoke my daughter's father's rights to her so that he could adopt her, and I refused. He threatened to beat me, told me that we were no longer going to get married, and that he would take my baby away from me as soon as it was born. So I secretly sought an abortion. After I had the abortion, I felt a massive void. So I continued to suppress my hunger and my eating as a way to control and sort of punish myself for what I had done. And I became anorexic and started to have body image disorder as a way for me to deal with my abortion. My first abortion. As I had gone on from the first abortion, my life started to change. And I carried around this massive chain, believing that I would never be forgiven after already having one. And the moment my daughter was born and being able to look into her face and say, "Hi, I'm your mom," I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to do that with my aborted children. During the dark times, when I felt nothing mattered anymore, still pursued my dream of music, but I abandoned the promise I made to God when I was 6 years old and told him I would sing like an angel for him on earth to save his weary children. I pursued secular music and like the current pop stuff and the type of music that is promiscuous and sends a message about all the wrong things, very selfish kind of self-centered music I wrote. Was doing fairly well. I was getting a lot of gigs and doing a lot of recordings and meetings with prominent executives in the music industry. And I had met another book writer on social media and who mentioned God to me, and we started having a conversation about God, and for some reason I felt totally open to hearing the conversation, and he invited me to church, and I accepted, and I walked into the church, and for the first time in my life I saw a worship leader up there on the platform leading worship with the entire congregation just with their arms up in the air and the lyrics on the screen all praising God. And in that moment I was convicted. I immediately remembered my promise to God when I was 6 years old and said, now I'm seeing exactly what I told God I was going to grow up to do as a little girl. And after the service was over, I remember telling my friend what had just happened to me. And he just looked at me and said, "Brandee, so what are you going to do about that?" And in that moment, I felt the Spirit of the Lord come over me and say, "Brandee, you have a choice. You can take my hand and live out that promise you made to sing for me now, or you're going to go down this path and drown in a pool of alcoholism to the same fate your mom had." And I am here today in this room, in this sanctuary, participating in worship and serving in worship because I took his hand in that moment and I said yes. I said yes. I said yes.
Realizing her dream of singing for the Lord, Brandee was now on the path that she felt God had for her all along. She even met a wonderful Christian man and they ministered together. But when it came to healing from her past, Brandee still had unfinished business.
I had gone to a women's conference that is hosted by my church called A Beautiful Weekend. And so I was reading down the list of which group discussions I might join, and there was one on sex abuse. I'm like, oh, I can do that one. And there was one on physical abuse. I said, oh, I can do that one too. And then all of a sudden I saw one that said healing, a journey from healing from abortion called Surrendering the Secret. And the minute I saw that, I got nervous. I didn't say, ooh, I can do that one. I just said, can I do that one? And I did. And it was in that chat that I learned that there was a healing process, that God wanted to heal me, truly heal me from my abortions, something that I wasn't truly allowing myself to believe, that this journey in this class has taken me through and shown me the truth of how much the Lord truly loves me, how much he truly loves me, that he sent his son to die for me, to pay for the price of all my sins, including those abortions,
Chief of sinners, heaven offender, I have been there on a mission. I searched high and low, but hadn't found what I was looking for yet. I climbed a mountain to try to touch the sky, chase the ends of rainbows, only to wonder why. Somewhere along my broken path, you broke into my life, and I found my way home, down my own Damascus road. Blinded by your brilliant light, now I can see your spirit leads me on, and it takes me far beyond anywhere I ever thought I'd go. I found my way home, down my own Damascus road. In all my pressing and all my stressing, I never found blessing. Now
Suzanne Howard was a young woman in search of love. Yet with each relationship that she had, there was hurt and disappointment. She shares these stories of the hidden disappointment and how only God could bring her beyond the feelings of unworthiness and guilt that she carried.
In 1988, in September of 1988, I was in the middle of a divorce, and I was dating someone, and I got pregnant, and I already had 2 children, and I knew that abortion was wrong, but I already had 2 small ones, and I knew that I was going to be alone, and because of conversations that I had with the baby's father, I knew that he wouldn't be there. I went to work one day, and a friend of mine, after I told her that I was pregnant, she said, "No man is ever gonna love you because you've got 3 kids. That would make you have 3 kids by 3 different dads." So I had the abortion, and I was going to church at the time, and I knew it was wrong, but when I walked out of the abortion clinic, I just kept asking God, "Please forgive me, please forgive me." So at that point in time, I was on orders with the Army Reserves, and there was an opportunity for me to go on active duty at my reserve unit in Tampa. And so I did that. I met a man who is now my husband, but I told him on our second date, "I've had an abortion." I blurted it out because I think I was one of those girls that just wanted to make sure that he knew all the details, and if he was going to go, I wanted him to go then, before I fell in love. And he said it didn't matter, and he said that we all have a story. We all have things in our past. And he didn't care. So we got married, and our son was born. And so he has 2 boys from his first marriage. I have my son and my daughter from my first 2 relationships. And then we had our son, our youngest son. So we raised our kids in church, and a lot of the time that we were serving, I think for me, serving in church was a way to make up for what I'd done. I was serving from a place of pain. I wasn't serving from a place of freedom. And even in our marriage, I couldn't understand why he loved me so much. And there were times when I feel like I was trying to sabotage our marriage by being difficult or angry, or I think it was because I didn't feel like I deserved him, that I didn't deserve his love, that I didn't deserve anything that I had been given. It's too painful to address the loss of a child, because the world tells us it's okay to have an abortion. But then when we're hurt by it and want to grieve, and then the effects of the abortion come about, the depression or the alcohol or drugs or any of the things that we do to self-medicate, the world tells us, well, you made the decision. What's wrong? We began to go to a church in Brandee, and our pastor did a sermon on the sanctity of human life. In that service, Holy Spirit told me very clearly that I had a story to tell and that I was to tell it. So I contacted our local pregnancy center, Life Care of Brandee, and I attended a Bible study called Surrendering the Secret. And I began to lead that study. And as I went through the study, God would just peel layers and layers of this terrible hurt and pain and heartbreak that I had that I never addressed. And so I did that, and I began to serve at Life Care, and I began to walk other women through Surrendering the Secret. And then I began to work for Pat Layton in the office at the Surrendering the Secret National Office. And that was just amazing to be able to minister to leaders and other women who had the same heart that I have, to help other women face the heartbreak of abortion. In 2010, I attended an event in Dallas, Texas called the Esther Call. And at that Esther Call, they had women walk from the largest abortion clinic in Houston to Dallas, to the steps of the courthouse where Roe v. Wade was originally filed. And they prayed on the steps of the courthouse, and they gave their testimonies, and we had a time of praise and worship and prayer. When I got home from that event, I decided that I wanted to walk for my daughter. Her name is Amanda Grace, so every year around her due date, which was May the 25th, I walk from the abortion clinic that I had the abortion at to the pregnancy center that I should have gone to. And so God has brought me on an amazing journey. I've seen a change in our household because of my healing. I believe that I am a better wife and a better mom because of my healing. I'm a better servant because of my healing. And I serve from a place of amazing freedom. I no longer am in a place of pain. God has blessed me by helping me address the truth about abortion and the truth of my circumstances when I had my abortion. He has helped me look at the anger that I've had and work through it properly, His way. He's taught me about forgiveness, His forgiveness, the forgiveness that I should give others that were involved in my abortion. And He's taught me about grieving. God turns all of that around for good. And so I've been able to work in the pregnancy center and in the pro-life movement. And I hope and pray that when I speak to the women that are in that counseling room, I pray that I disappear and then the Lord appears, because He loves them so much. They are so fearfully and wonderfully made, and so are their children. And it doesn't matter what brought them there. Where He can take them from that point on is amazing.
We want you to know that regardless of what you're facing right now, that God cares about you and that He cares about what you're going through. If you're dealing with guilt over a past abortion or facing a crisis pregnancy right now, we want you to know that there are people standing by. You can call the number on your screen. They will listen to you, pray for you. They will not judge you, but they will help point you to a decision that embraces life and will give you hope for your future and your baby's future. We thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on Real Life.
If you would like to share your abortion-related story, please contact us through our website, www.reallifetv.life, or through our Facebook page at Real Life CTN. If you need help in dealing with either an unplanned pregnancy or regret from a past abortion, please contact the H3 helpline at 866-721-7881. Thanks for watching. See you next week.